Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod. Along with Emerson Burris, I'm Cole Pepper. Tony Allegretti is traveling. We'll get Tony's travel diary next week. Coming up today on the pod, winner, winner, chicken dinner. The men are finally in the win column. The women welcomed to Wrexham, and we preview the World Cup. We are fed by the Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated, with the original location in San Marco. Make sure you swing by the Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great time. There we go. Much
Not
more
bad.
feminine. By the way, I went to the Bearded Pig last week and had pulled pork sandwich and burnt ends and mac and cheese. And the guy who sat at the table next to me had a beef rib. And I thought, oh, that's what I should have done. It was enormous.
I still haven't been. I need to go. I need to make this happen. I keep saying I'm going to go, and then I don't really crave barbecue, though.
I know, which is very strange being from Kansas City.
I know.
Very strange.
I know.
All right, let's get to it. On Wednesday night, we're recording this on Friday morning in the Gemstone Media Studios. On Wednesday night, Emerson, you and I were there, not broadcasting because it was a CBS Sports Network game, where we witnessed the first USL Championship victory for the Sporting JAX men's team. 2-1 over Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Came from a goal down to do it. Give me your 30,000-foot view on it.
Well, we finally got it done.
Yep.
We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. It has been, much like I feel about the U.S. men's national team, it's been a roller coaster of emotions with Sporting JAX men's team this season. I do love sideline reporting, but it is kind of fun to watch it from a different angle. I got to sit over in the field suites, sit with some of the wives of the guys on the team, and it's fun to hear their perspective on things as well, because they hear it all when the guys get home from training and games and such. But again, we finally got it done. It was great. I love talking to the guys after the game. I know you talked to a few guys. I talked to Kieran Sadlier and Ahmad. The vibes were high after the game.
Do you think, based on your post-game interviews, and I spoke with Tyshawn Rose, Jake McGuire, the goalkeeper, we'll talk about that in a minute, and Liam Fox, the head coach, do you think that it was more celebration or relief?
I think for Ahmad, it felt more of like a celebration. I think for Kieran, it felt like a relief.
Yeah.
And I think when looking back at the interviews, Jake felt kind of like a celebration.
Yeah.
He was excited, but he did say, this has been a long time coming. We've been waiting for this. It should have happened a long time ago. I didn't listen to much of Tyshawn's, but then also for Liam, it felt like a relief.
Yeah, I think 100% for Liam, it was a relief. And if you watch the game, the shot at the whistle of Liam walking in front of the fourth official and going over to shake hands with the Pittsburgh coach, he looked like somebody who had just gotten off a long shift and was ready to go home.
Yes.
He was, I think it's been exhausting for him, as you can imagine, to live with this, trying to get them over the hump. Now the question is, all right, A, why did it happen? B, what happens next? And C, I want to talk a little bit about they say history repeats itself. Probably the better term is history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. I want to talk about some history rhyming here.
Okay.
I think, so we saw Danny Wilson make his debut as a center back. Played on that left center back position next to Ryan Edwards. Thought he was very solid.
I thought so too. Yes, and I did a sit-down interview with him this week. Great guy. Great experience. I mean, played at the highest level over in Europe. Great family. Talked very highly about his two kiddos that are 8 and 10. So, yeah, he's a nice addition to the squad. I
also thought Edgardo Rito's impact was...
He's just a beast.
I mean, on the second goal, that went as an own goal, that Ahmad knocked off the leg of a Pittsburgh defender, Rito just absolutely carved up that Pittsburgh defense, and he set up the first one as well. He is a guy who is, I mean, he has everything you'd want at this level. Pace, technical ability, a feel for the game. He does not back down.
I was going to say he's very aggressive.
Very aggressive. He's a potential difference maker. And we start looking forward. You've got Kieran Sadlier, who is now tied for 6th in the league in goals scored. You've got Rito coming into his form. You're getting guys coming back from injury. So even with Christian Oliveras, the goalkeeper, being temporarily recalled on loan to St. Louis City, you've got Jake McGuire, who is an established veteran goalkeeper in this league back there, and adding in somebody who's played at Liverpool and the Scottish Premier League and MLS like Danny Wilson. Now we're seeing it come together.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, that game, by the way, was the first game of the second half of the season by games. That
We
was
are
game
setting
16.
the tone.
I think for sure. And now Brooklyn on Saturday.
Yes, which the last game against Brooklyn ended in a 2-2 draw. Is that correct?
After, I think, 78 minutes or so.
Yes.
And because
With
of
the rain
lightning,
delay.
everybody I have talked to on Sporting JAX thinks they would have won that game.
Well, I talked to Rafferty Petter during the rain and lightning delay, and I said, hey, if this stands, if we do post-game interviews, I'm going to grab you for an interview. And he was like, well, what if we win? I said, then I'll interview the goal scorer if you guys win. He said, so you'll get me either way. So I think the guys are confident going into this game. Let's hope that attitude sticks around for Petter. But no, we're excited for tomorrow.
Let me give a little history rhyming here. And this is specific to Jacksonville sports. In 1995, when the Jaguars debuted in the National Football League, they were in the AFC Central, a division that no longer exists.
Right.
But the big dog in the division, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers had been the AFC champions the year before, gone to the Super Bowl. And in the first game in Jacksonville between the two sides, the Jaguars beat the Steelers.
Wow.
This year, the defending champions, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, the first game in the first season for Sporting JAX in Jacksonville between the two cities, Sporting JAX gets the win. Now,
Look at that.
It's not exactly the same because...
How did the rest of the season go for the Jags
Well,
that year?
listen, the following year they made the playoffs.
Okay.
And then the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that.
Okay.
They went to 2 AFC championship games in the 4 years following the inaugural season. But I think they set the tone a little bit with the victory over Pittsburgh. I'm not saying that's exactly going to happen in this situation. However,
let's be optimistic, Cole.
Well, I'm just saying it's apples to oranges when you compare the NFL year to year. There's a lot less change than there is in the USL Championship. But to beat the defending champs in our place in the inaugural year,
not bad.
Not too shabby.
No.
Not too shabby. So that is history rhyming. All right, we'll talk about the women's team as well here in just a moment. Do want to remind you that after their successful debut season, Sporting JAX is set to kick off the 2026 Gainbridge Super League season at home with the home opener on August the 22nd against Tampa Bay Sun. They'll open at Fort Lauderdale the week before. Season tickets are available for the sprint season for as low as $70 per seat. Call 904-863-KICK or go to sportingjax.com to get your season tickets today. All right, also want to mention that the Sporting JAX report, big news this weekend.
Big news. Very exciting.
Double your pleasure, double your fun. In addition to airing this weekend Sunday at noon on ABC 25, Saturday at noon, the show will also air on Channel 4.
Whoop, whoop.
And will continue to air on both stations on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday at noon on Channel 4, it may be affected by the ABC and or NBC sports broadcasting schedule. But now, two places for you to find the Sporting JAX report. And this weekend, the aforementioned interview with Danny Wilson. We'll also hear more from the lads after the game, after the victory, and a nice review of what's been happening with the Sporting JAX Academy and our youth soccer spotlight. I'll get to our community feature here in just a little bit, but want to remind you of that. Also, every Tuesday night at 6, it's the Coaches Show on 1010XL, presented by Honda of the Avenues. You can listen live and on demand at 1010XL.com. Men's head coach Liam Fox, women's head coach Stacey Balaam, and a player join me each week on the show. You can also listen on demand or online at 1010XL.com. All right, let's talk about the women.
Let's do it.
I want to couch this by saying I understand that obviously when a team is fighting to try to get wins, it's different than a team that's really flying. But I really enjoyed the women's inaugural season.
I did too.
It was just tremendous.
So special.
It really was. Stacey Balaam's been great. The players have been terrific. I've loved the way that the community has rallied around the ladies. And yesterday at Wrexham, Yes, that Wrexham. The ladies won 5-0 with goals from Paige Kenton, Bailey DeSmit, another one that was either Georgia Brown or maybe...
When I watched it back, I think it was a header, and then it bounced off of
Ginger. Yeah.
Yes.
So, any regard, and then 2 from Andrea Fernandez in the second half. You can go back and watch it. It's on Wrexham's YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch if you like. I want to get your thoughts. We were kind of watching it as we were taping the TV show, and then afterwards, it brings me so much joy to see the women playing the way they play. And to be fair, Wrexham is still sort of transitioning from being semi-pro to being fully professional.
Sure.
In the Welsh League, but they are the Welsh League champions. They are going to play in the Women's Champions League. So this is a team that's accomplished something, and boy, we really were dominant.
I wasn't really sure what to expect going into this. I mean, we had a phenomenal year last year, but with so many new players, I didn't know how things were going to mesh. New starting lineup. Sophia Bowman wore the captain's armband. So I really wasn't sure what to expect, but my goodness, we're flying already.
Yeah, great to see. And a little mix and match, I think, in the lineup. They pulled Greg out of the starting lineup.
So sad.
Well, but they played in the second half.
Yeah.
I think that's what Stacey Balaam wanted to do. She wanted to see, obviously you use preseason in a particular way, and you love results, but wanted to see how Ginger Fontenot or Macy Teeter or AJ Hennessy, some of the new players, how would they fit in certain roles? You know what you're going to get out of Grace Philpotts and Meg Hughes. You know what you're going to get out of Ashlyn Puerta and Paige Kenton and Bailey DeSmit and Sophie Jones and Kate Parks.
Shout out Sophie Jones. It's her birthday, actually.
Happy birthday, Sophie.
Soph.
I'm sure she's listening right now.
I'm sure.
I'm not sure she's listening on her birthday. There may be other things, including travel involved. Yeah. But shout out. I did want to also share some of the comments that were made. A lot of Wrexham supporters watched this match, and I want to share some of the comments that came up on the YouTube comments feed during the match. One viewer said, "JAX players are big and fast. They cover ground so fast." Another one says, "Of course, Sporting JAX are not at the level of WSL, which is the top women's league in England, but by appearance and athleticism, they would fit in as a WSL squad."
Sweet.
I think if you drop JAX into the WSL, they would finish above relegation in their first year.
Wow.
Another said Sporting JAX is noticeably faster than Wrexham. Another said regarding passes for Wrexham, I would say that JAX defense plays with a pace unlike these women have ever seen. So passes that would be successful, leading passes won't work. Requires more precision. What's the name of the tall JAX player? Georgia Brown. Mark Griffith, the broadcaster, keeps saying Wrexham has grit while JAX has quality. Just another way of saying determined versus athletes. So
I also saw a comment of people asking if we can bring some JAX players over to play for Wrexham.
Yeah,
sorry.
Not right now. Not right now. But I think it's a great trip. I look forward to hearing from Stacey and the players when they get back about their experience. For those of you who have watched Welcome to Wrexham, how much have you watched?
Nothing.
What are you doing with your spare time? Not eating barbecue?
Watching the World Cup.
Well,
that's
clearly
what I'm doing as of right now. After the game on Sunday, I will vow to start Welcome to Wrexham, and I will report on the podcast next week.
Okay. So they have finished their most recent season. And over the course of the entire, I think there's 4 seasons so far of Welcome to Wrexham. One of the faces and voices that you get quite a bit from is Mark Griffiths, who is the commentator for Wrexham. Great story. He was a full-time teacher and just started doing this because he loves it. He loves Wrexham. No, they weren't paying him initially, as you'll hear in my conversation with him, but he has since been able to go full-time at minimum wage with Wrexham, and he's just doing it because he loves it and loves when he goes to a big place to see what the meals are for the media. So here is my conversation with Mark Griffiths, the Wrexham announcer, just a lovely guy.
Big picture stuff, talking about the impact that this amazing Wrexham story has had on the town. I saw some unbelievable numbers about tourism numbers and visitors and unemployment plummeting and all this thing. I know this has been well covered in a number of areas, but from your perspective, as somebody who's been boots on the ground, what has this meant for the club's success to have impacted the community?
It has been astonishing, and honestly, Cole, I mean, they said from the start, Rob and Ryan, that they wanted to contribute to the community, and they've delivered in spades. I mean, it really has been astonishing. I mean, I'm from Wrexham. The 80s hit us very, very, very hard. All our traditional industries shut down, and Wrexham has been a depressed town. I was a teacher, and the basic attitude amongst kids was, if you've got any ambition, you get out of Wrexham. Even if it's just 12 miles down the road to Chester, or we're not that far from Liverpool or Manchester. Whereas now, oh gosh, I mean, the boosts to a town's self-esteem when Ryan Reynolds says he knows you and wants to get to know you better is quite something. And I know it's sort of intangible in terms of that self-esteem, but it's there. People suddenly are proud to be from Wrexham. I think they always were to some extent, but now people know who we are, and it has been reflected in the nature of the town. The place seems more lively. Not so long ago, the main street, High Street, was all shuttered up. It was basically pubs, clubs, and takeaway joints that were only open on Friday and Saturday night after the pubs and the clubs had shut. Whereas now it's much more vibrant. There's a much more vibrant art scene in Wrexham. There's art popping up on the streets everywhere. A lot of it to do with the football. But hey, if you've got something people like, then flaunt it. And I always tell people this, that there was a student who I helped quite a lot. I was ahead of years, so I'd be in charge for a year group and discipline and pastoral things. And so I supported one student quite a lot, and I had a lovely email from her parents a couple of years ago saying, firstly, they were delighted to say she got to university, which was fantastic. But she also said that when she went there and all meeting people for the first time, and they're all saying, "Oh, where are you from?" When she said she was from Wrexham, they treat her like a celebrity. So, oh my gosh, what's it really like? Now, I promise you, 5 years ago, people were saying, where? Apart from the football, there wasn't really much to know, and the football team declined alongside the town. So the difference is astonishing. And like I said, the tourism, the amount of wonderful people who come in, it's amazing.
Wrexham also seems to be, from the outside, the kind of town that largely embraces having visitors in. I'm sure there are some who think, now it's too crowded, but for the most part, at least what we're presented with on Welcome to Wrexham and hearing different people talk, that it's a real open arms kind of community, and it seems to be the perfect kind of city to enjoy this kind of rise.
Yes, although I think it's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing as well, because we're not immune from the forces of society. And, as we see in politics across the world now, politicians can gain success if they divide and spread disharmony. There've been issues like that around here as well. But the bottom line is, I think it goes hand in hand with what I just said. Everybody feels much more positive about things, and funnily enough, that encourages that positivity. So yes, I would argue, well, I don't see anybody who doesn't just love all of this, who, it is a genuinely nice, welcoming place. And people in Wrexham take real pride in the fact that we are friendly and good hosts. And that we'll say hello to strangers in the street anyway. Maybe that's a northern British thing as well. A lot of people from up here will say that you go down to London and if you're walking your dog or you're on public transport, you keep your head down. Whereas here, we'll go for a walk and we'll just bump into strangers and say hi. It is that sort of place. But it's definitely, it's underpinned by the good things that are happening, which I think adds to people's happiness. I've got to be honest with you and say that I used to think, when people talked about Wrexham like this years ago, I always thought, yeah, that's the sort of exaggeration you have about your own town. And probably everybody says that about their hometown. I'm now increasingly finding from people coming here that actually, no, it is quite nice and unusual here. But a lot of people remark upon it. So that's really gratifying.
Let me ask you about the women's team. You mentioned recently formed and then coming off winning the league most recently. What has the women's team's success meant for the town, and has it captured the attention, at least in some way, as much as the men's team?
It's astonishing, absolutely astonishing. 4 years ago, we were playing on a public park, and certainly you couldn't charge to come in. There was only one area where you could probably about 20 people could have sat under cover, but because it was public and because nobody bothered to sort it out, there was actually a fence across the front which wasn't unlocked for the matches. So that was the level we were at. It used to be lovely though. You'd see little girls coming in their football kit, running alongside the players down the side of the pitch. And that link and that sort of the role model element of it was, I've never seen anything so obvious. But that was the level we were at. And I've got to emphasize, we're still semi-professional. We're by far much closer to a professional setup than anything else Welsh women's football has ever seen. But there's something very pleasing about how this women's team has evolved. So 3 years ago, we were promoted to the top level for the first time. We were essentially formed in 2018. And because it's semi-professional, and in fact, we were amateur at that point, we can't use the money like we do in the men's game, where we can offer professional footballers a good chunk of money to come across and play for us. Because the best players in the league were living in South Wales. That's a good 3 hours away by car. I know that's nothing to you guys, but to us, 3 hours is a long journey. If you're going to tempt Cardiff player to come up here, you've got to convince her to give up her job because she's part-time. So there's no incentive to move up. Likewise, teams in the English system, well, why would they move across to the Welsh system when the English system is much more developed? It's thought that the Welsh League is similar to maybe third tier English. So if you're a good player, why do you come across? So we had to deal with all that. What Rob and Ryan did very intelligently, and Gemma Owen, who was running the football setup for a long time, way before the club's incorporation, was use that money wisely in terms of infrastructure, in terms of bringing in really good staff who could raise levels. And then what really kicked us off was the start of last season. We brought in a manager and assistant who were very experienced and really got Wrexham and the project. And they built on this local team, which had a lot of talent. We finished top four the first 2 seasons in the top tier and got to the Welsh Cup final both times. But Cardiff are dominant. And they've been able, through their reputation and I think by showing people how far we've come, to actually break that pattern. So we bought one of Cardiff's best players this summer, for example. We have, for the last year, brought very good players in from a higher level of play in England. And then so last year we won the league and the League Cup, which is one of 2 knockout competitions. And, we'd never won anything previously, the women's team. The standards just risen enormously, and next season, well, we're in the Champions League preliminary stages, and that's astonishing. And Wales hasn't got a great record in the Champions League preliminary stage. Like I say, never had a Welsh team anywhere near the group stage, but we're hopeful we can at least make a good fist of qualifying and get somewhere in that. But it's astonishing to think when you look at how far we've come in a very short time.
Well, it must just feel like you're on a rocket ship with everything that's going on. I wonder how your career as a broadcaster has been impacted by all this success and all this attention that has come for Wrexham.
The honest short answer is I have a career as a broadcaster to some extent now, because I've always been a volunteer. Until 2 years ago, I never got paid or got expenses or anything like that. I did it because I loved it. I had to fit it in around my teaching work. Everyone used to say, "How on earth do you fit it in?" It's because I loved every moment of it, And I retired because I intended to, not before the takeover. We did the math and decided that we could afford it. And so we decided that when I was 55, I could get my hands on my teaching pension and I'd take a step back from that. The takeover didn't happen until a couple of years after we made that decision. So yes, I would say I don't have a career in broadcasting as such, except that now with the club, I get paid minimum wage by the club, and it's just crazy fun riding along with it. Having spent years covering the men's team at places which are very basic, often very welcoming, don't get me wrong, but really basic. Suddenly I'm going to these super stadia, to Premier League grounds, and their infrastructure is jaw-dropping. And Cole, the free food, the free food. These places, they have press kitchens. They give you a meal on an actual plate, and not a paper plate. I mean, this is not something that's been happening. 5 years ago, I would get nothing. I assure you. I'd have to go to the burger stall and buy something. And now, you get treated like a king. It's absolutely ludicrous. But yeah, it's just. If I stop to think about it, it would blow my mind. But luckily, there's no time to stop and think. Being asked to do. I was asked to do the voiceover on an advert for the MLB's games in London a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
I mean, what? I think as well, I've got to admit to you that I think a lot of people in the States think I was a known broadcaster. I'm not, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher who has followed Wrexham all my life and just voluntarily done commentaries. And I've fallen incredibly lucky. That's the honest truth of the matter. There's only one thing I've done, which is, I think, significant, which is that my podcast about Wrexham is the oldest football podcast in the world. So I started it in 2005. There were a couple in the States which have now ceased to put episodes out. So by default, mine's the oldest in the world, simply because I was frustrated at the fact that, in those days, if you didn't get to an away game, you had to wait till Monday when the local paper came out to really find out what happened. And I thought, surely there's a quicker way than that. And so, apart from that, I'll take the credit for that. But apart from that, I'm just the luckiest guy on earth.
So as you can hear, kind of a man after my own heart. Loves calling the games, loves being around things. He loves being involved with the women's team as well, and loves a good meal when he's on the road. What a life he's living right now.
Well, speaking of meals, I just want to know, what is your favorite meal before you cover a game?
Well, that we've had,
sure,
or anywhere.
Or anywhere.
So I'll just tell you what it was last on Wednesday. I got there about 3, had to do some technical work around.
Okay.
We were not doing the broadcast because it was CBS Sports Network, so I had a couple slices of pizza.
Okay.
Later on, got to keep my strength up.
Sure.
That was basically lunch.
Okay.
A little bit later on, there were tacos. So
tacos.
Love to get some tacos. As a broadcaster, I try to stay away from cheese as much as possible
Sure.
before I broadcast because it can get in there and muck things up. If I am not as disciplined as I was as a younger broadcaster with that, because I was more concerned about all those things
Sure.
As a kid. But listen, I will never say no to barbecue or a ribeye. But you don't want to eat too much before and have all the blood go into your stomach and not into your brain,
Right.
where you need it to be working.
Okay.
The big thing for me for a broadcast is staying hydrated,
Yes.
because I'm speaking a lot.
Wouldn't want to lose your voice.
Right. And more so than I do at any other time. If I'm not on the air on a podcast, TV, radio show, or a match broadcast, the amount of people would be shocked at how many words I use at home, mostly because my daughter is using them all.
Sure.
I just don't feel the urge to have to talk a lot at this point in my life.
Okay.
Well,
I like hearing your wisdom. But
well, thank you. And I do enjoy socializing with people. But again, as if you're parents, when you get kids at a certain age and you're shuttling them around to band performances and practice and tumbling camp and whatever else, you don't always have the time to socialize in the same way. But I'm a big fan of rest and hydration.
yes, I hear those words every week.
All the time.
Yep.
So we try to stay hydrated. Mostly water, a little bit of Gatorade.
Okay.
Liquid
IV.
Yeah. Particularly when it's hot. So that's that. What is your pregame meal? You don't eat a lot.
I know. Well, I got very sick,
Mm-hmm.
and then my gut was all messed up. So in the past 6 months, I haven't had a normal eating schedule at all. My favorite food ever is sushi, but I don't eat sushi before a game.
Yeah,
I eat something
bit
light.
of a risk.
Yeah, a bit of a risk, especially with the heat.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk the World Cup.
Let's do it.
final on Sunday, Spain against Argentina.
Who you got?
Well, so it's interesting who I got before.
In your heart.
Before the game, before the tournament, I picked Spain to win.
Yes.
So if I want to root for myself to look smart, I would go Spain.
Okay.
They also have conceded only one goal, which is amazing.
Indeed.
Their shape and the way they play is remarkable. My brain says Spain.
Okay.
Now, as we look at our World Cup contest, this is amazing. It's come down to this. Tony's total points. We may revisit the math on this, but Tony's total points at this point are 122.
Wow.
He had France and England among his teams. They are both out, of course, out in the semifinals. You had Spain and Norway among those still in. Your total at 104. So that means that you can get 9 more points if Spain wins, which would push you to 113, which means, and Tony cannot get any more points. I have Argentina, win or lose, at 123. I'm 1 point ahead of Tony right now.
So I can't even get second.
You can't.
See, but in my points, we need to revisit
We'll
this.
revisit.
And my dad needs to, too. Dad, double check, please, because my dad has access to this Google Sheet.
Oh, does he?
Oh, yes. No, not yours.
Oh,
We made one, too.
okay.
Right now on that, I'm sitting at 115, you're at 121, and Tony's at 128. So
All right.
we all need to do some recalculating.
We'll recalculate and figure out, see where we are on this.
Yes.
But again, for our purposes of our contest, I have Argentina, you have Spain.
Yes.
However, there are some who, particularly English, who really don't want Argentina to win. They think it's been rigged.
I agree. I don't think it's been rigged. I'm sick and tired of Messi.
I don't know how you can get sick and tired of Messi, who not only is the greatest footballer to walk the earth,
Sure.
but also conducts himself extremely well.
Okay.
So if you're a Ronaldo fan and you're just hating on Messi because of that, then fine.
I did grow up a Ronaldo fan.
Yeah.
I wore 7 because of him.
Yeah.
But is there a debate that Ronaldo is...
Not anymore.
Right.
Not anymore.
Exactly.
I think
Messi is the
Messi
best
is the
player.
GOAT.
Yes.
So for him to go out of his World Cup career with a victory would be an unbelievable story. This whole Messi, Yamin Lamal,
So cute.
Lamine Yamal story
Lamine Yamal.
is, the picture of him in a
It's
bathtub,
so awesome.
little chunky Yamal.
He was a chunky baby.
He was a chunky one. And, it's just a great story all the way around. And it is fitting that the defending champion and the defending European champion are meeting in the end of this tournament that has been, by, I think, everybody's assessment, one of the great World Cups we've ever had.
I agree. It's been so fun. What a great summer of soccer.
It has been great. All right. Saturday, Sporting JAX against Brooklyn FC. Then the next home match is the middle of August against Indy 11. And the couple of weeks after that, the women kick off.
Woohoo!
So get ready for the fall of soccer.
Yes.
Well, let's call it the autumn of soccer. 'Cause
Yes.
the fall
It
of
never
soccer
stops around here.
Exactly. All right. That'll do it for us here on the Sporting Pod. We look forward to Tony rejoining us next week. Again, if you are a subscriber, please share this with your soccer fan friends. Let's continue to grow the community around Sporting JAX. For Emerson Burris, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for listening to The Sporting Pod.